This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Jumbo, everyone. Another beautiful morning. And we're right here in the Masai Mara, the Mara Triangle. My name is Isaac, and welcome to your morning live safari from the African wilderness. Jumbo, everyone. Another beautiful morning for a beautiful start of day, and I'm right here at Olololo Escarpment, just below Olololo.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include
and beautiful it is. There is a cloud preventing the sun from shining on us, but it's not very big. We're gonna have the sun quite soon. Here I have a beautiful pool of hippos plus a cloud way back there, and the plains in front of me. Jumbo, I'm Isaac, and on camera we have Bungei. This morning we're looking for cats. Anything else is very welcome. Remember to talk to us on #WildEarth. Questions and comments are very, very welcome. You can also send in your kids' questions at Kids Question at Wild Earth TV, also at FC. Also, you can go into our website and send in your question, and they'll be sampled, and you'll have an answer in due course. Well, here I have hippos. I am right in the middle of the conservancy, and we have a man-made dam here, and in this dam these hippos just appeared. For the last 6 months they've been hanging around here, and seems like the number is increasing day by day. Dams like this are essential to make sure that animals get water throughout the conservancy and other places. We have two that are very playful there. It looks like they're chasing one another. Maybe it's their morning underwater jog. And maybe they're playing hide and seek over there. Yeah, hippos come out of water, but very early in the morning they will get back. It's always nice to see them out, but this is their normal, and you expect to see them in the water during the day. So they must have been out, but they've come back. The grass is in plenty, so they don't have to go very far to look for grass. And so it is a perfect spot that they have found here. Okay, I'm not the only one on this live show. I have my colleagues, and let me allow them to introduce themselves.
Well, welcome to Tswalu Kalahari. We are sitting on an access road, busy watching this beautiful wildebeest, and he's got one or two guards going to the lodge. Good morning, guys. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. My name is Kyle. Behind camera is David, and we are just sitting here and observing and absorbing the beautiful sounds and smells of the morning. We actually parked here by this golden-tailed woodpecker nest, and we're just waiting for any activity. And then from here we are going to move slightly further north and see if we can catch a glimpse of those little Cape Fox pups, which are just north of the lodge. And it would be such a treat if we could catch a glimpse of them. But this woodpecker being very busy here, I mean, what a remarkable ability to chip and chisel away at a very hardy tree like this to create a perfect humble abode. Nice and chilly this morning, only about 14 degrees Celsius, and not a breath of wind. So this woodpecker should be active very soon. And it's such a privilege to watch a woodpecker open up and excavate a nest such as this. You've got to take into consideration it's a very hardy wood, one of the hardest woods in Africa. So the ability that this bird has with this chisel-like beak to basically open up and excavate these amazing nests is incredible. And not only being utilized by themselves, but then later along the line, other birds utilizing these beautiful abodes. That wildebeest has had enough of us. Well, for now, we're going to send you to one of our colleagues for introduction, and we'll see you guys shortly.
Good morning, everyone, and a warm welcome to you here in the Mara. My name is Tim, and behind camera we have Big James. We have a couple of mixed grazers. We have taupies, we have zebras, and it's a very pleasant day to wake up into this very beautiful light, the golden hour, where our taupies and zebras are just slowly grazing. Most of those zebras are being led by the stallions. They're the ones who were super alert to make sure that no predators within will be tolerated, especially if it's hyenas and sometimes lion. I've seen sometimes when they've mobbed against a lion, but always there'll be worry of predators. So you can see how they're alert. The top is looking very alert. These two species have sharp eyes and also ears. So they will be heightened alert if they see predators. And that's why most of the herbivores will like associating themselves with these two species. Both species come into groups. We have resident and we have migrants. So the ones that migrate all the way to Tanzania, back and forth. So taupies also form a big herd where they will migrate back and forth, and also zebras. About 3 days ago, we missed out on a crossing where zebras are still permanent. They're still present here in the Mara. And so today I'll be looking forward maybe to check if they're still crossing the Mara River. So when they stare at one direction, it gives me keen interest to check on what's going on, because they have a sharp eye, and sometimes they can show you where the predators are. It's a misty morning. You can see how the mist is forming into the big canopies of trees there. There's lots of moisture in the grass, so at least they can enjoy that. Makes it easy for them not to make short trips or long trips to the river to drink water. Idle wreck, where do these herds sleep in the night? So they'll always choose an opening place, like a flat savanna, for example, just where they are. At least they have an angle where they can see at 360 degrees, at least for predators. So always into the openings or the flat open savanna, where at least they can be on the lookout for predators.
Alright, what a way to start the morning by a beautiful southern yellow-billed hornbill. Very distinctive with a big banana nose, beak. And there's a pair in this area now that we're busy waiting for the hornbill. Busy moving around on the terrestrial basis on the ground. It's typically how they feed. Spend a lot of time on the ground, hopping about in search of food. They can also be found feeding in trees, but mainly seen in pairs or small family groups even at that. Oh, and he's off. Still busy waiting for this little woodpecker to make an appearance. And the sun is just starting to touch on the western section of that high dune now at 12 o'clock. See how the sun is just starting to kiss the top of the vegetation. And the birds are going absolutely crazy around us. It's got to be one of my favorite parts of the day, is this early morning dawn chorus before the sun has touched down. Taking big deep breaths of that nice cool fresh air. And just getting lost in this symphony. It's a brilliant spot because we've got a very large section of the Coronaberg right behind us, so there's a few other bird calls that are singing that we don't actually hear further out west. Got to be close to the mountains because that's where they prefer it. It's their general preferred habitat. Lovely. So the guides are starting to move out the lodge, and shortly we're going to be making our way a bit further north. And I've got both my toes crossed, both my fingers crossed. I hope you guys got toes and fingers crossed as well. Oh, in the nest. Did you see which nest he flew into, Dave? You can see the nest wobbling, and there it goes. So a very good possibility that this colony has chicks at the moment, typically where they breed is now in summer. Same as the sociable weaver. Sociable weaver a little bit more responsive to rain in terms of breeding. Oh wow, look at the kudu, Dave. Dave's just going to swing us very far around. Just hold on tight. You see right on top on the crest, there's 2 or 3 ladies, kudu, busy sunbathing themselves high up on the crest of that mountain. What a beautiful sight. Good morning, ladies. And we spoke about structure yesterday with that single oryx, and you can see these ladies are in this nice knit group. And obviously safety in numbers is number 1 here. You can see they're busy surveying and scanning the land ahead. So they'll slowly start making their way down this mountain. They might go to water in front of the lodge. It's a nice watering hole that gets utilized heavily by a vast array of antelope, and obviously it makes great viewing for guests while in camp, especially having breakfast. Nice little eggs and toast, and you can see the hive activity come into the watering hole. So no horns present on there, so that's all ladies, whereas the males will be away from these female groups at this point in time. Depending where you are in the country, these greater kudu have different periods in which they would mate. In this part of South Africa, it's generally through the winter period, so June, July, where these big bulls will associate themselves with groups just like this. They've got very good eyesight, so if there's a predator, they will see it, and if they see a predator, they vocalize about it. They've got this very deep, almost like bellow cough. That's basically a vocalization, a warning for a predator, and obviously we could utilize that. So if there was a leopard here at the base of this mountain, or a cheetah a bit further west of us, they would see it, and we could tap into that information. You can see the direction they're all looking at is directly due west. Big ears projecting west towards us. Female on the right busy taking a little nibble. And you just look at the structure of those rocks and you think, how does an animal move through that? And they do it with effortless ease. Sure, it's beautiful.
A very rainy morning, rainy morning to you from and beyond Punda Private Game Reserve. We found a lioness that was walking into the dry riverbed behind us, and we were following her for a little bit, and we just found, on our way out, trying to get back to the road, some 2 male lions. My name is Dewald, and behind the camera we've got Craig. And we are going to see if we can stick with these 2 males for a little bit. It is starting to drizzle quite a bit now. just see the one's eyes are closing, and when we found them, they were actually circling quite a lot and with their noses up in the air, and I think they were trying to follow this lioness, but she eluded them, and she was looking quite heavily, or she was definitely lactating quite a bit, and she had suckle marks on her teeth. So I think she was trying to get away from these two males to maybe go to her cubs that's maybe hidden away in the dry riverbed here behind us, or potentially even looking to maybe hunt with this cool weather and the rain that's maybe covering her scent. And I think that's maybe one of the reasons why these males struggle to follow her. It's just because of all the wet grass and the little bit of moisture that's coming down now. But see how this male lion is listening there to our left-hand side, to his right-hand side? That's kind of where that lioness went. So the thing is, if she does hunt in this dry riverbed, I'm sure these two males will hear the commotion and go straight there. So the other males just listening up the hill there. There is a chance that there might be some other lions in the area as well. Evan, you're asking how old lions are when they leave their pride. It depends on what the sexes of the lion, but also what the dominant males are like in the pride, because it varies a little bit. Generally from about 2.5, 3 years to around 4 years, depends on how many of the young lions there are in the litters. They might leave their prides around any time around that age. So this particular pride, the female that we saw, there was quite a few subadult males that left the pride a while ago, and the two young subadult females that was part of that litter still with the pride. But a good question nonetheless. Sometimes quite interesting, young females might form little breakaway prides as well. They break away from their maternal pride when the pride gets quite big, maybe to get away from competing for food or so. But look at this male here on the right hand side. He's listening around him and keeping an eye on what's going around him. His brother next to him is actually settling down, might just be behind the bush there. He's definitely listening to you behind us in the dry riverbed. We're standing on a slope here. I was quite surprised to see these two males here. The last time they were seen was quite far in the west of Phinda, and I think they probably patrolled throughout the whole night, patrolling the territory, and then just came upon this female that we know is denning somewhere around this area. But for now, while these two male lions look like they want to take some naps, I think Greg and I might just hang around here for a little bit and see if they do get a move on or not, and maybe look for some other animals.
Lions will always be exciting, especially at this time of the day, early morning. So I'm driving around the riverfront area. I haven't seen those lions for a long time, so I'll be keen to check to see them. So currently there's lots of water around here, and how my understanding that pride has lots of cubs. There are about 5 small cubs. There's a new litter, so it will always be nice to find them. So just looking in the bushes, in the long grass, And because the sun is slowly coming up, it will be a good time to find them or to see them, because lionesses will bring their cubs into the openings for them to sun and to play a little bit. Then as soon as it gets hot, they take them back to their den. So I'm looking for footprints. I can only see hippo tracks. So keep on looking, because it's a good time to find those lions. So I've come into an opening. I'm just going to stop for a little bit and then scan.
Well, here I have one massive big bull. This is as big as they get. Always nice to see these patch dams in their full size. Just to remind you that some of the biggest elephants ever recorded exceeded almost 10,000 kilos, and that was in Angola somewhere many years back. The longest tusks were recorded here in Kenya, and it was a big elephant called Satao. He had tusks that almost touched the ground, making him actually one of the biggest tuskers. And so it's nice always to see guys like this. This is a guy who's almost 6 tons easy. He's quite a long way. He's broken one of his tusks, maybe during a fight with another male for dominancy. They do that when they reach maturity. Finding a place amongst many big bulls is necessary, and fighting is one way to get through that. And maybe he lost his, he broke his right-hand side tusk, doing that. That's how far he is. So you can imagine how big he is if he's close. Look like he's in mast, which means he's moving around looking for females in season to mate with. They can stay in mast up to a year, and they wander long distances. Here is a nice spot that he has found, plenty of grass, maybe to add a little bit of energy or a bit of food before moving on. This big guy like this is the ones we normally say they eat about 250 kilograms of grass each day, or of food each day. And right now he's collecting a lot of seeds. I'm sure he's doing a good job. He's going to transplant those seeds elsewhere. Looking at his head, you might think that it's very heavy, but just to remind you that on the inside, hey man, Jumbo, what do elephants use their tusks for? Very good question, and they use them for many things. One of them is digging for minerals in the ground on any type of soil, sandy, clay, or any other. Another one is for debarking trees, for that rich fiber inside the bark of trees. The other one is for fighting and defending themselves. And the other one is just, they support, their trunk when resting sometimes, and especially when they've been walking too long. Sometimes you'll find that a big bull will put his trunk over the tusk on one side as he walks to support it. Apart from that, they support also pulling of certain tubers and bushes off the ground. They hold the tuber or the bush using the trunk, and then they'll support the bush, pushing it out and pulling it with ease. So they use them for many, many things. And tusks actually play a very big role, because without tusks, elephants don't get this big, because they lack nutrients that the tusks will help them dig out. Places where it's very dry, they also do use them to dig for water. They can smell water, they'll reach, and then they'll use the tusks to dig for water. So they have many, many uses. And looks like he's been out in the open. He wasn't in the bushes, because you see, he's quite wet at the back. We had a bit of rain, and I'm sure he's feeling so nice with this morning sun on his back. Yeah, you can tell that his skin is not as bad. Well, when I'm not comparing it, to ours, but to other elephants, he looks quite okay. I've seen a much wrinklier elephants than him. He looks like he's got a better skin. Elephants, like as I was saying, that you might seem that they have a very big head, but it's not that big. On the inside, it looks like a honeycomb. So it's not as heavy as it looks compared to the size of its body. Only the brain cavity is very solid. The rest is quite hollow and chambered. Yeah, he's loving that area there. Relaxed. Look at the back of the ears. That is so pink for such a big elephant. Khadija, how much grass can they eat in one day? Well, not only grass, but how much they eat in a day. A fully grown like this, about a quarter of a ton is how much they eat. And they're not fussy with any green plant. They'll eat anything. And the reason they eat that much is their digestive system is not well developed. And so only about 40% of everything they eat is properly digested. Might sound like a waste, but actually elephants play a very big role in actually transplanting and translocating different kind of plants. There are seeds that need to be peeled and also need to be planted, because there's nobody to plant them. And elephants play a big role, because once they've eaten, they go through their stomach about 4 or 5 days, and once they drop, I normally say they have already been planted. They will be inside the dropping. Where it lands, it's going to dry, and once it dry, the little seed will start germinating, and once there is rain, it will continue and become a big tree. So they actually play a very big role, elephants, in transplanting and planting of many trees. Well, yeah. Yeah, he's not the only one. There is another one, but it's quite a long way. Well, I'm gonna try and find my cats, and while I do that, let's take you to another live location.
So does this large mammal. It also spreads seeds and pollinates knob thorns with its cute little muzzle. It's a lovely giraffe to start off the morning on quarantine. We've been blessed with some lovely stormy weather, and if I'm quiet, you'll hear the thunder as well. Also, it's me, Trishala, and I've got Theo on camera with me. Hopefully we'll last. We'll see how it goes. At the moment, we're just going to hang out on quarantine for a little bit and see how it goes, because it's been a very, very, very heavy stormy night and early morning. The clouds are moving very, very quickly. I'm just going to be quiet for a little bit so you can listen to it. You'll also be able to hear some woodland kingfisher and lilac-breasted rollers. There's a whole lot of the rollers around there in that tree, and they're all displaying, which is really nice. They're soaring high up into the sky and then dropping down in that rolling fashion, and then doing this kind of, you know, if you were on a trapeze rope, and then if you couldn't balance and you go, because that sound was definitely accompanied by a movement that you all got, hopefully. That's what it looks like they're doing as they come down. Hopefully they'll do it for us again. They've moved here. Aren't those wonderful sounds? They've moved off that marula now. That thunder underneath my feet. That was very cool. I love sounds like that. Sound is such an interesting thing. You can get specific pinpoint direction with sound. It can be so specific, like those woodland kingfishers, and sometimes you get these sounds that are so grand and you get to feel it, and it's almost all around you. I love that. Impalas are making their way from Western Quarantine to the central parts of Quarantine. And our giraffe is still busy eating. Can you tell what tree it is that he's eating? If you guessed it's an apple leaf, well done. Look at its face. This giraffe, he's very impressed by our knowledge of the trees that he is eating this morning. All right, well, you heard a bit of the thunder with me and some of the birds, but Lauren is out doing some silent segments at this stormy morning, and hopefully she'll be able to show you some lightning and the thunder. That would be awesome. That would be lovely.
Lightning, yeah, there's no point in being out if they're not even going to come, do you know what I mean?
Sorry guys, it seems like you're gonna have that silent moment with me instead. I hope that you still managed to catch that really cracking right over our head thunder there. Oh, that was amazing. I love this kind of day. So ominous, so much potential. Just love it. All right, we're gonna drive a little bit more on quarantine. See if we can see some lightning. Hopefully we'll get Lauren back in a bit. And also find maybe a leopard just prowling about quarantine, because that's what this kind of day is. Could be a leopard anywhere day.
Completely agree with Trish. These days are very ominous, a little bit scary. This wind is pumping through. We can also hear thunder. This African spoonbill is just enjoying the water's edge, looking for any movement amongst the ripples, where it can catch any fish or frogs that happen to surface anywhere nearby. It will also be filter feeding as it goes. But this weather, well, this is predators weather. This is the time of the cats. I think there's a good chance that a lot of people might find cats today because they'll have good hunting opportunities. Hi everyone, my name's Mike, behind the camera is BK, and you've joined us at Ecotraining's Pride Lands Conservancy, where it was an incredibly windy and dark night full of thunder and storms. No rain, unfortunately, but yeah, there's a lot of excitement. There's excitement in the air. Who knows what might happen somewhere out here. We had a very large elephant bull that was here a moment ago. He's just moved off. But as he did so, as he went over the side of the dam wall, he had a little freak out. So we're actually just waiting here to see if there's something on the other side which might have concerned an elephant. And the only thing I could think of is probably something like a predator. Might have just caught a scent of one. I'm not sure what's wrong with the spoon bull. Maybe he's got something up his nose, shaking his head quite a lot. Having a bit of a scratch. So these spoon bulls are amazing. I was watching them swish their bill from side to side a moment ago. And they've snapped up 2 or 3 frogs that I've seen so far. It's obviously doing very well. And when you just sit around all day and you don't have to do too much movement, 2 or 3 frogs goes a long way to giving you the energy that you need. I don't know if there's going to be much activity at the waterhole today, apart from, the odd elephant that might come down or animals that might come down to drink, just because it is very cold and very windy. And animals like a warthog is quite small. If it would wallow in this water now, then it's going to become very cold and potentially not warm up the rest of the day. Oh, that was very polite of that spoonbill. You see, it walked away from the water, it went to the bathroom and then came back. Not like the elephants. It'll just go every which way in the water. I really think that the spoonbill has something caught in its bill or something. It keeps shaking its head and then rinsing its bill like that. See what it's doing? Or maybe it's just trying to use a bit of water to straighten its feathers. Doesn't want them to get wet though. There's something there that is trying to wash off. As you can see, the camera's shaking a little bit. It's very, very windy. I don't know if you can probably hear it in the mic as well. It's pounding through here, and you can see the water with its very, very fine ripples. And this wind is going to keep up all day, so especially with this cloudy weather, as I was mentioning before, perfect for the predators, because herbivores cannot see them, smell them, or hear them coming, because there's just so much movement in the grasses and trees. Look at that tree, that beautiful big apple leaf over there is swaying in the wind. It's the kind of wind that will end up toppling some of the large, tall trees. Nothing like the power of nature to to do some remodeling, let's put it that way. I think as we wait here in Ndlovu Dam, we'll wait here another 10-15 minutes or so. We'll probably head off and see what else is moving about. Megan, I agree with you. They are really cool waders, and they are really, really unique looking. I think there are spoonbills that are found in other parts of the world, but there's nothing with quite the same type of bill as these spoonbills. You know, they always remind me of things like pelicans, also super unique birds with that big pouch. Spoonbills and open bills. We have so many different types of storks that occur in this area that are really uniquely adapted to the lifestyle that they live. Got a very specific niche. But I do wonder what the actual spoon, the flattened spatulate bill that they have. I really wonder what is the specific adaptation. Why is that better than, let's say, a normal bill, like some of the other filter feeders, let's say? Because I don't think it's actually a filter feeder. It's sifting through the mud and the water, and it's very sensitive. So when it feels something, it will clamp its bill shut, which maybe forces out the water and leaves just the food items. So they mostly eat fish, but they'll also eat frogs and other aquatic vertebrates, as well as invertebrates like insects. We'll probably include things like shrimp, mussels. No, not many mussels, maybe. They've got too hard a shell, but crabs, maybe. Things like that. Small ones, though. It's really having an issue with its bill. I really wonder what keeps shaking its head like that. When you see a zebra doing that, you know that it's probably got some botfly larvae that are living inside the nostril, feeding on the mucous membrane. It's quite uncomfortable. Not painful, uncomfortable. So I wonder if spoonbills also get some sort of a parasite. I actually think it's just collecting water and then shaking off the excess. Haven't seen a spoonbill at this waterhole for a long time. And as the water shrinks, as the waterhole shrinks, as longer we don't have rain, more and more of the mud is exposed. And that's where a lot of the invertebrates will live, a lot of the creatures. And then they also become sort of more concentrated in there. It's often, if you're a fisherman, as the water levels drop in rivers and things, that's the best time, and dams. It's the best time to go fishing because all the fish are crowded rather than spread out. It's the same for when these birds are fishing or trying to catch food. The shallower the water, the better. Shallow lakes invariably have a lot more bird life around them than the deep ones. I don't see many other birds on the move, to be honest. In this wind, you won't see the large, heavy birds flying around too much. Things like eagles, vultures, that usually use thermals. There are no thermals today. It will be a lot of energy for them to be flying around, so they'll only move if they really see something that is a good opportunity, like if they see other vultures descending, or they actually see a carcass or something like that. You might see them moving, but otherwise they'll be really, really stationary. There's a few blacksmith lapwings taking shelter behind some of the... Oh, I thought I felt a raindrop there. I think I'm imagining things. There's a few blacksmith lapwings taking shelter behind a woolly caper bush, just to the left where a lot of elephants often mud wallow. And they're also affected by the wind, just like this spoonbill here. Small animals are affected by this kind of temperature much more than the larger animals. All's quiet. Just the only thing that I can hear is the wind and the red-billed buffalo weavers twittering around. Oh, there are definitely raindrops coming down. I think these birds get about maybe just under a meter tall. Not super huge, like 85 centimeters around about there. Oh, rain is starting to come down. Look at the water. See all the rain coming down. We might have to escape before this rain gets too heavy. Oh yeah, now she's coming. Oh boy, here we go. Yeah, it's about 85 centimeters, 80 centimeters. That's about as tall as they get. Not as big as some of the other waders. Certainly looks shorter because of its curved neck. It would extend itself out. They look that full, 80 centimeters. Right, John, we are going to have to start making our way under some sort of a shelter.
Sitamani Roy. Put it in the red. Get out of the rain. It's lovely to sit in the rain sometimes, but when you've got a whole bunch of electronic equipment on the vehicle, you want to get back to undercover as quick as possible. We have decided to leave that woodpecker nest. Just how the morning is progressing, we have decided to come here north of the beautiful Motsi Lodge. And the Motsi means abode or village in Setswana. And we have started the stakeout here at this beautiful and extensive meerkat burrow system. This is a system that's actually used by a colony of meerkats that ranges from here at about 4 or 5 kilometers north of us. And this is the perfect spot where these Cape fox have found refuge for the past few weeks. And I didn't want to miss the opportunity, so we've decided just to come straight here. And we've stopped the vehicle, and hopefully we can catch a little glimpse of these guys. Also, when the sun hits this part of the burrow system, they should come out to absorb a bit of warmth, and hopefully we have a bit of play by the pups, and then they should go down a bit later on this morning. Sometimes you only see them very early, just before sunrise at a burrow entrance, but with pups like this, obviously they have got lots of beans. They want to play, and that's what drives them out. And hopefully we can get lucky. But a very extensive burrow system, so utilizing burrow systems like this, they can use spring hair burrow systems, they can use old abandoned aardvark burrow systems, and as well as they have the ability to dig their own burrows, but if you don't have to expend the energy, why do so? Where you can utilize these beautiful structures which have been created by other animals. And that sun rushing towards us, doesn't look like it, but it's moving here very quickly. Quite a bit of wind that picked up now. So when this animal does show an appearance, it's a very distinctive animal found within this area. It's beautiful grey, very petite structure is unmistakable. Pointy little ears, pointy little snout, bushy tail. And it's got this silvery grey appearance to it. A very beautiful little fox species at that. You can see the burrow entrances there. There is disturbance to show you that these animals have been active outside of the burrow this morning, or more than likely last night. They tend to forage under the cover of darkness, especially now in summer. And in winter you can find them foraging early afternoon. But now it's a cover of darkness where they are fairly active for a wide range of insects. Insects and even sometimes mice here and there. I've seen them catch a scrub here, which is quite a sizable meal. But being a little carnivore, they've got the teeth or the tools necessary to latch onto such a large prey item. I've got my guitar in my bag. I wonder if they will come out if I play them a tune. See David nodding his head. Or maybe he's shaking his head, no. But what we're going to do is just wait out over here. Obviously just remaining still is a very important thing, especially if they're inside and the movement of a vehicle could disturb them. And so what we're going to do is just hold here nice and tight, and then hopefully these animals come out. They're used to the sound of voices, being so close to this access road to the Motsi, becoming very complacent by the voices of humans, the sound of humans' voices. Ooh. It's quite chilly, that wind, definitely stealing the heat away from us. Just a very beautiful morning. White-browed sparrow weavers in the distance. Alright, so we're going to hold the fort down this side, and we will see you guys when you get back this side.
Welcome back to the Mara, and we've come to our same spot where we always come towards these hippos. So we're just checking on the river to see if the water levels have gone up, but seems like still the same, even though it rained here. Oh, that's an aggressive display. Look at how he's showing off his cannons. We have other hippos just relaxing. It's not yet sunny, so at least they're still cold. So they always want to come out in the open or at the banks whenever the sun goes up, or maybe when it's a little bit hot to come and sun. But sometimes they get bothered by the flies that are around here, and also because of the sunburn, and the reason why they always stay or stick in the water during the day. Now that the water levels are low, we're expecting to see more and more hippos, fighting over space out on the bank, and also space for some favorable spots on this river.
Well, I have one big hippo here, and looks like he's already trying to protect his skin. You see all that sweat? It's a secretion it's trying to release to help the skin from drying up. But he's very wary of my vehicle and my voice, and so he's making his way towards the swamp, or the marsh, which is right in front of him. What a big animal it is. And now it's closer to water. Looks like it's relaxing. It's always the case. When they are close to water, they feel very comfortable. And once they're in the water, nothing worries them. You will rarely find them in the water coming out to get you. But every time they're out of water, they're always very skittish, very dangerous. I don't know if we're gonna see him again right in front of that bush. The right there is where we're expecting to see him come and splash into the water. Dave, why are hippos called river horses? They are called that in Greek, and I think it's because maybe by the way they jump and play in the water. I'm not really sure. It's something maybe you have to do more research, but I think in the Greek world, the way they jump in the water, they are river horses, and I think that's where the name derives from. I might be wrong. I always stand to be corrected. Now he's in the pool. Plenty of water lettuce there, and I can see a black creek walking in front. Look how deep it is, and quickly he disappears. That's a lily trotter, or the African jacana, making advantage of all the little insects that are trying to move away from the hippo. You might think that it's shallow, but look how deep it is. Places like this are good habitats for monitor lizards. Young crocodiles do really well in this kind of marshy spots. The bird right in front, at the back of the hippo is a lily trotter or African jacana. And then the one they are walking with the yellow legs and really fast. He's always on the move. He's gone to the left slightly. Don't know if you saw him, Bungay. He walked there, somewhere there. Yes. Looks like he has disappeared. That was a black creek. Another one. Yeah, there he is. Another one of those birds that looks like they have a sugar rush. They're always on the move, picking insects, quickly on the move. Yeah, there he is. Black Creek, it is. Yeah, that marsh there is a nice habitat for very many birds. Looking at it, you might think that I can walk. It's just shallow, but it's very, very deep. You saw that hippo disappear, just like a magician does some magic. In the dry season, provides lots and lots of water for many, many animals. I've seen buffalo, I've seen rhino, I've seen elephant, even different species of birds come here. So it's a very good spot for all these animals. Actually had to turn a little bit to see that hippo, but now I have to continue on my way because before it gets too hot, it is starting to get hot actually. So let's take you to another live location.
Still at the Mara River, where our hippos, you can see them just relaxing at the same spot that we found them yesterday, and that looks like a favorable spot for them. I can see more hippos walking towards that very spot, and because of the bank and the water being very calm there, so I think that's the reason why they prefer that spot. So there's two hippos walking upstream. So like I said earlier, when it comes to the dry season and water levels get low on the ponds, dams, and even rivers, there's always fight for space. And because these spaces are favored by the dominant and the high-ranking hippos, you find that all the other hippos will come to the same spot. So during that time, you find that there'll be more fight that will come up, because these calves, they always protect them from other rival males. And sometimes the big bulls can also kill the calves just to make sure that these females come into season. And because of that, so most females will be protective over their calves. The big dominant bull sometimes can also be in a fight with the younger bulls, who sometimes may want to oust him out. And this is the time that you get that chance to fight over for space. And whoever emerges the victor gets to be in such a spot. So always the big dominant bull will always be patrolling, walking back and forth, downstream, upstream, making sure that no other intruders come here. Abdul, how often are the hippos in the water? I would say about 12 hours a day. Sometimes they can go up to about 16 hours a day. So only coming out during the night. And you find that in places where there's less disturbance, so there's less movement from other animals, you find that they'll always be out during the day and then returning back when they get too hot. So I'd say preferably the entire day they'll be out here in the water. Gopu, how fast do hippos run? I would say they can run to about 30 kilometers an hour. For a big animal like this, to run at that speed is actually super fast. So I would say 30 kilometers an hour. That is the average speed that they can run. Just want to have a moment of silence and watch these hippos puffing and the water flowing downstream. Very, very nice. Jenny, how do lightning affect hippos and crocodile? To be honest with you, Jenny, I'm sure that lightning can travel in a very nice place, like maybe when there's a tall tree, when there's water raining and the kinetic energy forming and lightning coming through the ground. So I've never had that opportunity to get to ask myself what happens when lightning comes, but I'm sure that can always be passed over to one of my fellow guides or some of them to really get to answer or elaborate that very well. How do hippos sleep? So hippos will gather at one common place like that, and preferably a place where there's shallow water, where there's ease in standing up and kneeling down. So most of the time you find that hippos will be kneeling down and at least raise their heads up where the water will be in line with their nostrils. So making sure that they don't have that extra energy of going up and down for air, so where there's ease for them to breathe. So they preferably will be kneeling down and then resting. Sometimes they can sleep standing, but most of the time you find that they'll be kneeling to sleep. It's such a nice moment of silence watching these hippos and listening to all those doves calling. I'm sure they're also enjoying because it's a nice quiet place, so less disturbance from other dominant males. So I'm just going to link you over to another live location.
Well, welcome back on board here with myself and David at Tswalu. And we spoke of these little guys, and they are here. So the chances of them co-inhabiting this burrow system with the Cape fox, I'm really not too sure. Another guide did mention that he saw the Cape fox moving from this burrow system across the road here, early hours this morning. And so we're going to enjoy these meerkats for the meantime being, while we scan and we look for this beautiful little animal. Because I really want to see it, and I really want to show you folks this magnificent creature. But this is just great. We've got meerkats we didn't expect. Oh, good morning. And this group relaxed with the presence of a vehicle, but if I'd have put a foot on the ground, those animals would move very hastily back into the burrow system itself. We refer to this group as the Motsi group, obviously because they range north of Motsi Lodge. And it's quite a large group. I think there's 9 or 10 individuals within this group. My heart dropped when the little meerkat head just popped out. I said to myself, it doesn't look like a Cape fox. But this is just wonderful. It's a wonderful surprise when you don't expect something and suddenly there it is. That. Liza, they do have delicate little limbs, and those little limbs obviously being very important tools in how they excavate these very extensive systems, but then as well as how they search and forage for food. Those little paws can shift quite a lot of soil within a very short period of time. So their digging ability really allows them to range into areas of South Africa that is quite harsh. They found it in the central parts of South Africa. But yeah, their digging ability to find shelter is very, very important, how they survive, not only from the harsh conditions, but also from predation. Those little limbs digging extensive systems just like this, or smaller systems called bolt holes, which they would utilize in case of the unlikely event of a threat. And within a territory, they have hundreds of bolt holes. I literally mean hundreds of bolt holes. And the alpha female within this group would have extensive knowledge on where these larger systems are, these larger burrow systems, and as well as every single bolt hole. So while they're busy moving and foraging for the day, she knows where the closest point is for safety for the group. In case of an aerial predator, obviously they are highly taken out. They're taken out quite a lot by aerial predators, raptors, and then also snakes, jackals, caracal, leopards. So there's a lot of threats that they are facing on a day-to-day basis. And these underground structures are really, really important for their survival. But now those little limbs obviously being utilized in a different manner to keep them upright. So that they can gain a little bit of height to scan for any predators. And we're doing exactly the same thing, just absorbing the warmth of that beautiful sunlight. So if you look at the meerkats in comparison to the rock stars and the Makalo group that we've been looking at, you'll see that every individual has its own unique structural face. Alpha dog, what do meerkats hunt? Any type of little creepy crawly. Excuse me. They forage by digging. Obviously, their digging ability allows them to shift their own weight in soil in under a minute. And their highly and a very acute sense of smell actually guides them. Their nose guides them to where prey would be nestled underground. And it's a remarkable thing to watch this animal forage. Basically, its nose guiding it deeper and deeper into the earth to find this little prey item. So scorpions, spiders, termites, beetles, their larvae, highly sought after. And so the digging ability allows them to get to the prey item. And then they obviously fall into an order called carnivora. So obviously carnivores, and they've got the dental structure that enables them to then utilize and chomp up these hardy individuals. So if you look at insects across the board, the exoskeleton that they possess is a very hardy substance, a material referred to as chitin. And that is what has allowed insects to range and basically infiltrate different habitats across the globe. And that exoskeleton can be a formidable and very tough substance to keep an insect alive from an attack. But the chompers, or the dental structure that these little meerkats possess is well suited to break down that hardy material. So a lot of creepy crawlies, so some people love them because they utilize the creepy crawlies that people don't necessarily like. So insects of a wide range. They'll also take small geckos. If they're unearthed geckos, I've seen them catch legless skinks. So a little pasta dish, a legless skink, hence the name legless. It is small or no limbs, and it is a form of a lizard that they'll also utilize. And they will start this foraging behavior in the next 20 or so minutes. After they've warmed up, do a little bit of stretching, and they should move off for the day's foraging, and only returning back to this burrow maybe later this evening. And then we'll see you guys shortly. We're going to send you off to one of our colleagues for now.
Well, I have some guinea fowl, but I have lost them in this long grass, and looks like it's the helmeted guinea fowl. There they are. This is helmeted guinea fowl. We have 3 different types of guinea fowls found in this country. The crested guinea fowl, the vulturine, one of the most beautiful. But here I have the helmeted guinea fowl. And they're a pair right now. Breeding time, you always find them in 2s. So definitely they are breeding. And usually after breeding, they'll go back, to the big flock of up to around 60. Very secretive. You never see their eggs, but they have a very, very big nest of up to 60 eggs. And they do very well because most of the eggs hatch, and we see lots of chicks in almost every 3 months when they're out here. I don't know if we'll be able to see them again, but they also can be domesticated, and it is said that they are good for eating, but not always. And I've heard that if you want to cook one, you marinate it first by actually feeding it bread that is mixed with a little bit of alcohol. There they are. And once they have taken it, they're usually a little bit groggy and wobbly.
Welcome back to a perfect family portrait. And how beautiful is that? Everybody almost in a straight line, focusing mainly on us. And then there's one individual to the far right-hand side here that just doesn't want to be in the family photo. That's the cool kid. It's definitely a sibling out of most families that just doesn't want to be in a family portrait. I don't want to stand for the photo. And this individual's making it very evident. So it's remarkable looking at meerkats. They look very, very similar. They all look the same. But if you look very closely, each individual is very different. They have their own unique structure in terms of their face. And only after a period of watching these animals very closely does one start to pick up the unique features possessed by an individual. There's some projects that are running here northwest of us that have been going for a very long time, and they've documented that you can pinpoint individuals by just the structural components of their face, which is just marvelous. It's just like us. One just fell asleep. Look at that guy leaning back. You see him there? It's like a Michael Jackson stance. Do you see him on the right? got his one leg out and shake it all about. It's a bit of a younger individual. This might have been the previous season's pups. And more than likely there will be a female, an alpha female in this group that is pregnant. Obviously the favorable conditions approaching us now. This is the perfect time to have babas. Because of the abundance of food. Very beautiful bird calling behind us. If it comes closer, we're definitely going to take a look at it. Most of them looking at us. Ah, David, if you go to the far left-hand individual, there's a female lactating. Do they eat small mammals like moles and mice? Moles are a little bit big, a little bit large prized item for these little animals. Mice, a small rodent, I don't see why not if they're going after, but a little rodent's very quick. So, yeah, I'd say more stationary insects and invertebrates that are under the ground that these little guys will be utilizing. I wouldn't say it's impossible, I'm not aware of it. So there could maybe be recordings here and there of these little guys taking a mouse here and there. But that female on the far left-hand side is lactating. You can see the staining around her nipples, and they're quite large, showing that she is producing milk. So I wonder if these pups are not in this burrow system, and if they are, that means that this colony of meerkats and this Cape fox have been co-inhabiting, utilizing this burrow system together. Because that female would not be moving those pups around now. 2 to 3 weeks, they're bound to the den site. And only once they are agile and a bit more mobile will they start moving with the group. Otherwise, they are locked here and there'll be a babysitter in charge of them. And I know because we've had this Cape fox 5 nights ago, at this very burrow system. So a very good chance they are co-inhabiting, which is incredible. And nice to see a larger group like this. There's some groups in Tswalu that are nearly 30 individuals within the group. Obviously, when it comes to moving through this dangerous and very open landscape, vocal communication becomes a bit of a problem, and that's where these larger groups will start to break away, splinter groups. But a group of this size is perfect for the alpha female and male to manage. Being the size, obviously, is not too much disturbance when it comes to communication, and everybody can remain safe. So they're watching us while we watch them. So just while they are looking at us, I want you folks to focus on their faces. I mean, look how different their features are. Those deeply set eyes, those dark rings around the eyes, those like little built-in sunglasses, like I've mentioned before, just to eliminate any glare, because they are dye-only active, these little chaps. And so you don't want glare to affect your eyesight while you're out here. You want a clear picture of what's happening around you. White-browed sparrow weaver got their attention there now. Obviously, beautiful call. Sassy Cassie, is the meerkat's fur soft? In between, as you go deeper, it is quite fluffy, so to say, but those hairs on the back are fairly coarse. It isn't as soft as a cat's fur. I would say a little bit rougher than that of a domestic cat. But yeah, they do have fluffy, soft bits, especially around their armpits and around their tummy. Yo! Getting a bit of a vantage point there. Just watching their behavior. That obviously sees something before we see it. So you can see that one just got a bit of a vantage point, but no alarm call given. You can see the rest of the group is fairly relaxed. Some stretching going on. Oh, lovely. Wonderful pattern on the dorsal or the back section of the animal. So alpha male on the far left hand side of that group. You can see his size is definitely a larger male in comparison to other individuals. Yo. Tweet, 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 tweet. Bok Makiri. Beautiful call. Lovely. So now that we know that this female is lactating, we'll definitely try and utilize these lovely individuals and see if we can get a glimpse of these new members. Sure, alpha male looks old. Got a scratching going on now. I can see the activity starting to increase. Oh, it wants to huddle up for some warmth. Sure. But yeah, doing what they need to do. Cheryl, what is the average number of meerkats in the group? It's anywhere between 4 and about 9, your smaller groups. And then you can get groups from 9 anywhere up to 30 in a group. But in general, you're looking at 9 odd individuals. That could obviously vary and fluctuate. It's not always like that. That's what I've obviously experienced here on Tswalu. 9 odd individuals. But obviously, that would obviously depend also on the environment, the weather. You could get larger groups in favorable conditions. Areas where there's a lack of carnivores or predators, these groups could be larger, and then smaller groups obviously splintering off in the harder or leaner times, or if individuals want to have a chance to become an alpha male or female, they will then break off. But on average, I would say about 9 individuals in a group. Average size. Yo, Diedrich's cuckoo calling from us, a very beautiful bird. And myself and David were talking that I mentioned the other day that I really enjoy venturing out to go look for a bird species, and I will go to great lengths to find a new bird. The African cuckoo that now is fairly prominent in Tswalu, which I have not in previous years noticed. That bird will utilize the nest of a fork-tailed drongo. It's the only species that it would utilize. So what we're going to try and do the next few days is actually try and find a fork-tailed drongo. There's a bit of alarm call there. See the behavior, very alert, everybody up. What do they see? That's what it sounds like, what the meerkat is giving, the alarm call it's giving. I think it might have been an individual that is inexperienced. Of course, I don't see anything around us. But you can see how quickly the behavior has changed. You can see they definitely see something, or somebody has seen something. And you'd rather be safe than be sorry, so to say. So rather give an alarm call and be wrong and there be nothing than not give an alarm call and there be a imminent threat or danger. And they are super vigilant and alert. But yeah, what we're going to try and do is actually find a fork-tailed drongo nest, and in the hopes of seeing a lifer, an African cuckoo, and then the behavior of this cuckoo, trying to find and seek out the fork-tailed drongo nest to lay its eggs within its host nest, which is really remarkable behavior. So just when we are driving down south in the next few days, you folks are on the same page with us. And these cuckoos are very sneaky birds. Okay, everybody relaxing now. Looking behind us, I don't see anything. Wow, hippo hide. How many different meerkat groups do we have on Tswalu? Sure, I'm not sure. I don't think anybody will know a lot. There are a few meerkat groups dotted throughout Tswalu. Many, many, many. To get that figure, we would have to go around and basically somehow tag a group to ensure that we've counted it. Animals of this size, it's very hard to get an estimate on how many there are. But there are plenty throughout Tswalu. Sure, I wouldn't even put a figure on it. I'd be lying to you, bluntly out lying to you if I told you a figure. But plenty. Plenty is a good way of explaining. We've got a lot. And I like the more open areas of Tswalu. Obviously, if you're in dense vegetation, there's always a high risk of being caught. So you want to be in areas where you have advantage of a visual aspect. James, are they able to communicate via ultrasonically? I've not read anything and I've not experienced anything on that level. That's obviously a very, very unique sound signature on how animals communicate underground or with each other. But by my knowledge, no. They cannot communicate via ultrasonic medium, which is a very incredible medium to be operating. Obviously, something that we would hardly be able to hear. You know, if you take a look at sound and how sounds produce, our ear or hearing ability is very limited. Same as our eyesight, even the spectrum of light that we see is very limited. But I would have to say no. In my experience of being a book nerd and being out here, I've never ever heard of meerkats communicating via ultrasonic. It would be very cool. Oh, the guys are really giving us such a wonderful treat. Sticking at the burrow system over here and allowing us to observe them. It's such a wonderful thing. All right, we're going to send you off to another location on this beautiful and vast continent, and we'll see you shortly.
Well, from meerkats to elephants, and it's a beautiful big herd of elephants with all that comes with many females, lots of lily fans, different sizes, in short grass. And that's what makes it slightly different from all the elephants and the lily fans that I've been seeing. Yeah, the one to the right, definitely it's suckling. And they're out in the open. I think there is a specific type of grass that, they're eating. That's why they're here. It's a good time for them because the grass is so soft. It's very green. All the nutrients that you think could be in the grass is there. Looks like they've been wallowing earlier on. You can see on their ears, the forehead, the backside, the patches of mud. I will remind you that the elephant skin is one of the thickest, and that's why they are referred to as pachyderms. Pachyderms are mammals with thick skins, and in that category there is the elephant, the rhino, and the hippo. All of them, their skin range from 2 to 2.5 centimeters. And I believe the bigger they are, the thicker the skin. The skin is so thick that they can walk through thickets with ease. They can use very rough, barked trees to scratch themselves. So you can imagine you only need a ruler or a stick or your fingernails, but for them they need
Yes, look at this. Oh, my word, it's so beautiful. Wow. That is a beautiful little Cape fox, and look at the meerkat's reaction. Look at their tails. David's going to give us a little view there now. Wow. Oh, there's the pup. The pup just popped its head out in front of it. Oh, my word, folks. Just watch. There's the pup. Oh my gosh. Look at the meerkats, David. Look at the meerkats' defensive posture. Look at their tails. Look at their body language. That is showing that you need to be careful. So obviously being a more dominating force, like it's showing the Cape Fox that we are not going to back down, might deter the Cape Fox. But you can see the Cape Fox is not worried one bit. Oh my gosh. So this individual must have just arrived back. We were just standing here and I said to David, we're just about to move off, and this little animal came wandering through the bushes and has now decided to do a little bit of burrow maintenance. Burrow maintenance. How special is this? So initially the meerkats were on defense mode, but you can see they're all just keeping tabs now where the Cape Fox is, but you can see them scanning around, showing that they're actually losing interest, but knowing that the Cape Fox is not a major threat. Oh my word. for our long-time viewers, I said from the very beginning we were going to find a Cape fox den somewhere along the line. And I cannot believe that we finally have seen this animal. Wow. Long, beautiful, bushy tail. Oh, wow. Wow. There's the second pup. Oh my word. This is just too precious. So the second parent might be in the burrow, or the second parent might still be out in the field somewhere. Or we have meerkats advancing. Oh, okay. Wow, look at these little things. And I think everybody would agree with me on how beautiful this little animal is. That pointy muzzle, sharp little ears, and then a very petite, slender build. Look at that. Yo, what a beautiful scene. Cape fox in front and meerkats in the back. Wow. Absolutely spectacular. Portola, you wonder if some of the burrows connect. Some of them are interconnected, not all of them. You'll find that a few of them do interconnect into central chambers where the meerkats or the Cape fox will find a perfect spot to huddle up and keep warm and reside through the resting periods. And then some of them just lead down into central little holes. But you'd find that not all of these holes and tunnels connect to one another. You'll find just a central part and then a radiating amount of holes from a central chamber out to the surface. Wow. But great question. So more than likely these 3 or 4 holes here that the Cape fox has moved through, more than likely these will connect. And then where the meerkats are, a few of those on the left and right hand side of the meerkats, a few of those will be interconnected and interlinked. Incredible. In a couple of weeks, myself and David actually found a Cape fox den along with a pup. And unfortunately, it was in an area where we had no signal. But I'm just over the moon that we have got a spectacular view like this of these incredible little animals. A lot of guinea fowl calling behind us. Wow. Woman, how old are these baby foxes? Oh. So this is the first season that I've had the luxury of viewing these little creatures. But if I had to just think practically, sure. So they only start foraging with the parents at about 16 odd weeks. So just utilizing that time frame, I would say they are under 16 weeks of age because they're still bound to this den site. They're not going off with the mom and dad in these bouts of foraging. And then once they do reach that 16-week age, they have got a little bit of time to about 21 weeks. And then at 21 weeks, they are independent. So I'd say these guys are under 16 weeks of age. Sure. Long tail's not as fluffy yet. And you can see they somewhat resemble that of jackal pups. Oh, I can't believe this. Hello, little guy. I wonder if the cave fox will be curious enough to go and say hello to the meerkats. Obviously, being a pup, they do have a playful nature to them. And that parent just making sure that that burrow entrance is nice and clean. You can see how it's constantly scanning around, making sure that there's no threat, no danger. And there's guinea fowl calling here behind us. There's definitely a threat behind us somewhere, because that's consistent calling from that group of guinea fowl. I almost didn't believe David when he's like, there's the Cape Fox. And I was like, nah, you're talking lies. He's been crying wolf and playing lots of tricks on me since I've been back. He's been very ugly to me in the past few days, playing nasty tricks on me. Wow. Helen, that's a very good question. They do. So mommy and daddy will be in the burrow with the pups through their sleeping or resting periods or times. And then when mommy and daddy need to go off and find food, those pups will remain in the burrow. You can see only that when the parent got back here did that little pup stick its head out. And if it comes out when mom and dad aren't here, that means there's no protection for these little guys. But yes, it's a very good question. When they reside and when they sleep together, they sleep inside that burrow, all huddled up close to one another, obviously to exchange warmth and just to be close to your family member is a very important thing when sleeping. But yeah, they sleep underground as one big happy family. You can see the meerkats starting to move off now. Wow, how incredible is this? Karen, how do the meerkats defend their area? So from other colonies of meerkats, they'll do a visual display in the beginning to kind of deter another group, and that would be by a form of almost like a short little hopping behavior, and then the position of the tail is also a very clear indication of aggression. And then if that is not enough, then they'll start to vocalize. And if that is still not enough, they will engage in conflict. Meerkats can be quite aggressive, not only to other groups of meerkats, but to a threat. I've seen them, unfortunately, take out a small African wildcat kitten. A group of 12 pulled it out the burrow and just went to town on it. So they can be quite aggressive, obviously utilizing teeth and utilizing claws as weapons to fight or defend oneself. I think these little pups are going to start playing. Obviously, having a sibling like this, you can really develop in the way in which you need to. Obviously, practicing technique, agility, muscle development, that's all very important development stages for young pups. But having a partner to play and chase one another is very, very important. Bokmakiri, busy calling north of us. So the parent, they're hard at work, and you can see the pups, curious as can be. They would want to smell everything, they would want to bite everything, they'd want to chase everything. A bit of dominance there. Yo. There we go. This is just too cool. I don't know where to look at the Cape Fox pups, at the parent doing a bit of burrow maintenance, or the meerkats foraging. It's just too much. We are spoiled for choice this morning. Mother Nature obviously just unraveling for us, because we had a landscape drive yesterday. And she decided, let me show you guys. Wow. Yo. So from that little animal, that's very agile. I mean, that was a very quick jump. And that one day could be, between life and death, that agile little jump that this little animal is now practicing. But now it is just seeing it as play, but it could be a very, very important tool in how this little animal could survive or escape a vicious threat one day. Every day you're being tested as a young animal. Every day you're learning. Every day you're developing. And it's tough. It really is. The natural world is very unforgiving. She doesn't think about favoritism and, just who can survive, who's learning and who's developing in the correct manner in order to be out here. And that ensures, very strong genetics are passed through. And that obviously makes animals resilient to diseases, makes them better suited to the environment, makes them a key role player within the system. Such a petite little animal. Wow. So this parents obviously decided that this entrance needs a bit of maintenance. Really beautiful scene. Wow, I can't believe that we've got these Cape Fox. And normally when we do see Cape Fox, there are fleeting glimpses or fleeting sightings. You normally just see the animal running away, or you just see the head poking up from a burrow system and then back underground. To have the luxury to watch this very beautiful animal and how relaxed it is, we're just very lucky. Because generally they are very shy animals. Or my experience on Tswalu, they are fairly shy. Well, for now, we are going to hold the fort here, and then we're going to send you off to another amazing location.
way to the floodplain to go look for some cheetah, and we actually came upon this white rhino cow and her calf just feeding away on this open grassland here. Some nice short lush grass growing everywhere. They are slowly zigzagging all around, so let's hope they are just a little bit behind some small bushes there, but they might come around pretty soon. Could just see a few little birds hopping around them as well, some Cape glossy starlings. See if they do come out. You can see how nice and dark this female is, just the bottom half of her body, a little bit darker than the top. They were mud wallowing not too long ago. The youngster's got quite a bit of mud still on his ribcage there, and even the female as well. And if you look closely, you might just behind the youngster there see some of those Cape glossy starlings hopping around, feeding on all the insects that these rhinos are flushing out as they move around and are feeding. And while the youngster is standing like that with his hindquarters towards us, might see a bit of like a piece of skin or so hanging between his back legs there. So that tells us that this is a young male, a young bull. Got quite a bit of horn grown out as well.
I'm still here. I am with my elephants. They have been very entertaining, moving from one area to the other, enjoying the grass. I don't remember what we were talking about, but looks like the one to the left here. She is very, very pregnant. So she's carrying a little elephant, and maybe in the next coming weeks we'll also see one. There are quite many females amongst these herd. You will see them, and I think those little guys belong to some of them. Remember, this is one of the longest living animals, aging up to around 70, and the main reason most of them die is that they wear out their last set of teeth. They have about 6 sets, but in total they have about 26, 27 teeth. But when they wear out their molars, the last set, they cannot chew or eat. And that's why you find them going towards where there is swampy, reeds and grass, where it's easy to chew. And most of them sometimes die there, so they starve to death. But if they learn that they can actually see a dentist one day, they might live longer. A set of elephant teeth, apart from the tusks, which is the modified, canines, those tusks, the rest are molars, is so heavy. Some of them come way up to 3 kilos, and they grow forwards on the jaw, so they wear out as they come out towards the mouth. Look at that arrangement. That is a postcard. And you will find that in different areas, elephants are different sizes. And I believe it's because of the availability of the food that is available. There was a warthog in between there. I don't know if you noticed that, but it disappeared. Is it still there? Yes, there it is. There's a warty. Yeah, I'm sure he's very happy to be amongst the elephants, because nobody would dare come get him. Sometimes the little elephants play with warthogs and chase them around. This time of the year, we haven't gone back. In the last almost 10 days, we haven't gone back to the routine where they normally go to the marsh during the day and then in the evening they leave. We have, that trend has stopped. I think it's because there is plenty of soft grass everywhere and also water. There's two there, very small. Looks like they're twins, but I don't know. I cannot confirm because I never saw them being born, or actually the two in front are very similar size. The one to the left now is slightly bigger. Unless I see them suckling, that's when I can tell if they're twins. It has been confirmed that elephants do give birth to twins, but can you imagine carrying those little guys for 22 months? Such a long time, and having two is even, I think, a big burden. Right now, those guys, they are trying to nibble on the grass. They haven't mastered how to really uproot it from the ground, but they are learning. The trunk is developing those needed muscles. Also, sometimes they will feed on their mother's droppings. Might sound yuck, but they are born without much of the bacteria that they need to help in digestion, and so they will get it from their mother's droppings, and they actually eat it without any problem. Yeah, the warthog is causing a little bit of tension there. Yeah, so they will eat their mother's droppings as well as trying to eat fresh grass, and slowly from the age of about 3 months onwards, they'll start eating. Looks like they're turning their heads towards us. I don't know if they're gonna do it, all of them. Remember, amongst them, although they're spread out, there is, a lot of communication. Yeah, they can communicate with frequencies that we cannot hear, called infrasound, and it's very, very low. Pure Java, why are elephant ears so big? Well, good question. Actually, the ear is not what you see. That is the outer side of the ear. The ear hole is actually the size of an adult thumb, the diameter or the circumference, and it goes deep straight to the brain. It's in front, not behind. I don't know if we'll be able to see it. It is that little patch that look hollow there, that is the ear. So it's not behind where we don't see, but the ear is like the cooling system of the elephant. It carries hundreds of veins, and the reason it's a cooling system of the elephant body, it's got the thinnest skin. So with those 100 veins, they can take their blood through those ears. It is said it takes about 20 minutes. And a fully grown elephant has got over around 180 to 200 liters of blood. It can go through there in about 20 minutes. And because it's got the thinnest skin, in the heat of the day, when they flap like that, did you see that? You can see the veins there. When they flap, it cools down the blood, and so they don't overheat or get too hot. So actually it plays a very big role in actually maintaining the temperature the elephant needs. Of course, it's a very smart animal. It will go to the shade when the heat becomes extreme, and also it can go into water or even add a layer of cold mud on top of the body to cool down, but the first and foremost, the ears will actually play a big role in cooling the blood. So that is my explanation. I'm sure my colleagues can add on that. But without the ears, I think the elephant will look very funny. Don't you think? Can you draw it one without some ears? It will look scary. And actually the ears also is one big difference. You should remember, if you're ever asked what is the difference between the Indian elephant and the African elephant, say the ears. The African elephant has got bigger ears, and the Indian elephant has got some small ears. We've got another small herd in front of us over here, and looks like they're right on the road. I don't know if you have enough time. We might get close, and we might find something to talk about when we get there. But this size herd is very common this time of the year, and the last
we were watching a couple of impalas doing a bit of rutting just now, which was really cool. They seem to have sorted out their differences now, and everything is all calm. As you can see, there's a zebra walking through the middle. I think that made them a little bit shy. But the rest of them are all sleeping on the ground, most of them starting to do a bit of feeding, but, a bit of wind and rain came through a moment ago, and they all sort of probably took a bit of time to rest. It's not pleasant to be standing up. You see, they've got thin legs and slender bodies, and if it's really cold and windy, it's not going to be pleasant for them. They're going to lose body temperature quite quickly, and then they'll be uncomfortable. But there's a lot of males here. We just passed about 50 of them. There's another 30 of them or so that are lying around this area. As you can see, there's a little bit of tension, but I think it's more, just energy from a cold, dark night that they're trying to get out of their system. Having been stationary for so long. See these two just dipping their heads there. One of them is very much wanting to fight. Everyone else just keeps moving away from him, but he keeps wanting to start initiating fights with everyone. Now this is really cool, what we're seeing, the impalas all together doing a bit of rutting, and there's something else really cool. I don't know if you all know about it, some of you might, but Wild Earth has just launched a new app, which you should totally check out because it's really cool. It's called Wild Earth Explorers, and you can find it at wildearth.tv/explorers. You can win all sorts of cool prizes, you can connect with like-minded people and keep in touch, and really, really awesome. Check it out. Well worth it. New app called Wild Earth Explorers. Remember, that is wildearth.tv/explorers. Look, those two impalas are starting to square off again, BK. I don't know if they're going to go for it. Yeah, that's right. Now we're in the business. So those two, he's finally managed to convince one of the other males to start sparring with him. And now, the sparring that they were doing a bit earlier was a little bit more aggressive, but certainly not a full-on fight. There's no reason for them to be fighting right now. The mating season isn't going to start until March, April. But this is all practice, and you'll see how good they are at locking horns with each other, blocking the blows from the other one. It's all about balancing attack and defense. You can't go full on attack because you leave yourself exposed, and those horns are sharp, really sharp. They can easily, seriously injure each other, and I'm sure it doesn't happen often, but there are fatalities that happen sometimes with these impala rams as they rut like this. Someone doesn't defend properly, and you get a horn right in the neck or in the eye. Lots of impalas missing eyes. I've even seen an impala once who had a broken off piece of horn stuck in its neck, which must have been incredibly painful. You can see they practice extensively. I mean, all the impala rams in this group will be doing this on a regular basis, just sharpening their skills, keeping up their agility, and also strengthening their necks and their legs as well to keep themselves stable. If one of these rams slips over and falls, it becomes very open to attack. Although they don't usually get too aggressive about it, it can be quite an aggressive sparring session. And it's like any time I used to have play fights with my brother all the time when we were younger. And, it always starts out like this, playing nicely, but one person just makes a slip and accidentally hurts the other, and then it's war. It's full-blown warfare. And with Impala, it's all fun and games until someone loses an eye. But you'll see how quickly they're able to move their heads to match the angle of the other. Oh, a bit locked in there. Now, impalas are lucky. Their horns are lyrate and perfectly shaped for this kind of sparring, but other antelope, like kudu for example, their horns are very spiraled, and they could easily get locked together if they're not careful. So with kudus, it's even more important to practice so that they avoid getting hooked together. They become very vulnerable. Like, look at these two impala. They stop and they look around every now and again, but whilst they're fighting, they need to be completely focused on what they're doing so as to avoid getting injured. And then they fight like this out in the open because there's much less chance of a predator. Where they're fighting right now is exactly the spot that male lion was sitting yesterday morning. Remember, there wasn't a single impala around at that time because they were all avoiding him. But now it's the perfect place for them to spar like this because they can focus on what they're doing without worrying that something will sneak up on them. Oh, there you go. That's a good technique. I don't know if anyone's ever seen the movie The Mask of Zorro. He does something similar where he locks all the guys' swords together and they can't do anything except watch him as he does his magical sword-y things. A lot of antelope do this. It's not just kudus and impala, but I've seen wildebeest also smashing horns together. I've seen buffalo doing it. Waterbuck are definitely by far the most aggressive for their size anyway. Buffalo also serious fights, but waterbuck, I've seen a waterbuck before fighting with an opponent. It knocked this waterbuck down and then just continued to just hammer him back and forth. It was actually quite difficult to watch because waterbuck often kill each other in fights like this. They are really serious when they fight, and they've got massive bodies and huge horns. So when they use those things very effectively, cause a lot of damage. Sometimes I just look at the feet and the legs when they fight like this. They prance around and they dance just like, it's almost like a ballet. Very, very choreographed fight. Just watch those feet as they move. You can see the muscles straining as they push against each other. You can almost see the excitement in the way their tails move and the way their tongues flick out their mouth. Oh, that one's going to the toilet at the same time as fighting. I mean, that's new. How could you focus on both those things? That just looks like way too much hard work. And the way they flare their tails out like that, it's definitely a sign of excitement. You see them doing that all the time, especially when they are roaring, when you hear them making that very harsh vocalization, which signals the rutting season. Oh, we have a winner. Have a winner. Oh, even a little contemptuous head flick there, just to say, yep, that's right. Keep on walking. Of course, during the real rut, if one individual decides that he's had enough, he's bested, he will run away and be chased by the victor with lots of noise and roaring and snorting, signaling that he is the victor. Oh, he's not stopping there. He's not satisfied. He wants to fight some more. Interestingly, because this one that actually walked away, I almost feel like his horns are bigger. But guess, once again, it's not always the size that counts. And you see the horns also have different widths. Some have got very wide horns, some have got very narrow horns. I've no idea which will be more effective. Mr. Bipolar, that is very important to look around every now and again when they're fighting. There must be some communication that happens between the impala so that they both agree when to look around, because that would be the perfect opportunity for one of them to take advantage. But it's important because they need to keep looking out for danger. In the rutting season, which is sort of April to May, late April, early May time, generally speaking, that we find that mostly male impalas get eaten by lions and leopards and other predators because they are so focused on fighting and trying to mate and trying to chase other males that they're not really looking after themselves in terms of watching out for danger. And so it's very important that when they fight, they must stop every sort of 15 to 20 seconds, look up, scan, make sure there's nothing sneaking up, and then continue the sparring. They're quite lucky because they've got plenty of other impala around them, so they don't have to worry about something sneaking up. There's also a zebra and there's a big open clearing. They wouldn't do a fight like this in a thicket because that's a sure way to get caught by a predator, Mr. Bipolar. I've actually seen it before. I've seen a leopard. Actually, it was even in a fairly open area like this. Every time the impalas put their heads down and started rutting, this leopard did the typical leopard crawl, super low, belly scraping the ground, moving forward, using every single little bush and tuft to get closer and closer. In that particular event, the impalas did see the leopard before it got too close, and they managed to escape. But it could easily have gone the other way. Especially with all the wind that we're having. All this wind means that scent and hearing is almost for nothing. They cannot hear something coming, they cannot smell something coming. Even if the wind is blowing directly towards them, the strength of the wind will just be destroying the scent. So at best they'll get a bit of confusion about what they smell. They might not necessarily know where the smell is coming from or what it is. You can see there those two walking off very happy that they've got their exercise for the day. These 6 or 7 males here still just sitting around waiting for it to get a bit warm. But you see they're chewing the cud. They are ruminating right now, which is why this digestive system, having that 4-chambered stomach, is really, really effective. Because now when conditions are not great, they can regurgitate the food that they've previously eaten and chew it even further to extract more of the nutrients. They don't need to be actually moving around and feeding. They can sit here and still continue to gain nutrients. One of the benefits of that digestive system, the drawback of it being that energy is slowly released. They have to eat and then ruminate, eat and ruminate, eat and ruminate. Whereas the bulk feeders just eat and chew massive amounts of food, and so they get energy much quicker, but it's a short-term energy, if that makes sense. These guys store food that they can eat and chew over a long period. The bulk feeders, like let's say a rhino or elephant, they just eat straight away and then they defecate, and they eat and they defecate. Quick release energy, but they have to keep feeding quite frequently. And zebras, for example. Being on this open clearing, it's actually a bit of a wind tunnel. Well, not a wind tunnel, but it's like very open. And so it is quite uncomfortable. I'm sure these impalas won't stay here too much longer before they head somewhere with more shelter to feed.
Welcome to the Mara, where we're just seated at the Mara River. At the main crossing, you can see 2 big bulls. Those 2 bulls were sparring a little bit earlier when we got here. See, the one to the left looks a little bit bigger. So, a social interaction that we always see in giraffe, where they'll be performing the sparring. It's very important because when they spar, sometimes it's a measure of strength. And that is also used for dominance sometimes. When they come across other big bulls, they'll always fight over the females. You can see lots of crocs. We have about 12 crocodiles here. So these Nile crocodiles have gathered here because we had about six zebras who wanted to come and cross, and this is where we call it the main crossing. They are so hungry. From the last time that we had a big crossing over here, so they've not got to eat well. And I tell you, if one zebra just comes across these crocodiles, it will not even take about a minute. It will all be completely wiped out. So the zebras got here and got a little bit scared because they can't really traverse through these waters because of those crocodiles.
We've got this rhino now. We've just looped around to the other side, but they're a little bit nervous. The wind's picked up quite a bit. You can see how they are listening around them with their heads up quite high. There's some of those Cape glossy starlings flying around them. If you have a look at the youngster in front there's actually a few red-billed oxpeckers that's keeping an eye on the vehicle in our direction, hiding behind his back there. So I suppose having all these birds around you is good because they are feeding on the insects and all the ticks on them as well, but they do act as a lot of extra set of eyes that is around, like an early warning system. So not just feeding on the insects but also alerting the rhinos to anything that's around them. Look how she's curling up her tail. She's not happy with this wind. And there she's slowly going into the thickets now. I think they're trying to get out of the wind just because it is a little bit better for them to smell and hear what's going on around them when there's not wind blowing onto them. But there they are off. They are heading to quite a dense area, I think, into the dry riverbed there. And I think we are not going to get another view of them. See, it's nice and cloudy and windy, a lot of thick, dense clouds coming over. So I think she's going to try and get her youngster into that section there to get them out of the weather and the wind. But for now, I think what we'll do is we're actually going to keep on driving a little bit here behind us. Sounds like someone found some cheetah tracks earlier. So we'll see if we can maybe follow those cheetah tracks for a little bit. We'll see if we can get another view of this rhino around the corner. You can still see a lot of the starlings and stuff around there. But for now, I think Craig and I are going to keep on going and maybe see if we can find some other animals.
Our crocodiles are still waiting for their next meal, and who knows when their next meal will come. So sometimes they wait and wait for even months and months. Some of these crocodiles, because of their dominance and their hierarchy in these rivers, sometimes they don't even get to eat until the next migration season comes. They are known to hold or stay without eating for long, even up to a year and more. But once in a while, because we have catfish here, we have animals that come to drink, they might get the advantage of eating. So the reason why they're gathered here is because we were expecting to see zebras crossing. And because zebras have very sharp eyes, and I think 12 crocodiles will not be a good match. So they've went back. Maybe they'll choose another time. A giraffe has come to investigate. Probably wants to come and drink or maybe cross. I've seen not once when giraffes have crossed these rivers. They also have to be very careful because with their height and their hooves, sometimes when they walk, the rocks that are on the bottom of the river can be a little bit slippery, and that can be fatal for them. He has to check before he approaches the water, and if he thinks that it's not a good spot, he has to hold on before he makes his next move. Because even for him, if he bends and gets to the water, a croc can be fatal, can also inflict a big injury or even drag him into the water. You can hear guinea fowl calling. They're all watching that. They're all watching the giraffe is just approaching, and you can see he's moved closer to the bank. Looks like he's come for a drink. Look at how he's looking at the water. And there's a crook just next to the riverbank, and I think that is what the giraffe is watching. What do the giraffes use their horns for? Giraffes use their horns for defense. So they'll come into contact when we call dominance fight and sometimes sparring. So the horns, especially in bulls, are very important because they are used as weapons of fight. So giraffes will come into contact and spar, what we call necking, and sometimes those necking fights or sparring can be severe, can be serious. Two big bulls coming across each other over a female, they have to fight, and the victor has to get the mating rights. So those horns are very important in that time.
We are finally out again. It seems that most of the thunder and lightning has subsided, although we can still hear some rumbles in the distance. But here, there's lots going on. We have so many impala lambs. Look at them. Very large herd out here on quarantine. Look at that precious face. We've also got some zebra and some wildebeest all hanging out together. It's really windy. As you can tell, it's stormy weather. So everyone is sticking together, hoping that it'll increase their chances of surviving the day. Oh, so cute. Now guys, if you love watching Wild Earth and getting to catch up with all of these animals and you want to get a little bit more involved, Wild Earth is launching a cool new app. So won't you go over to wildearth.tv/explorers and check it out.
I'm living those stories, my friend.
Check it out and see what fun you can have on it. It's so wonderful to see groups of lambs now in little creches. So you see them all sitting down together, all standing together, and we've seen them bounding about and playing as well. So it's just been a real treat, especially since quarantine is right outside camp. It's always such a treat to see them as we get into camp and out of camp. They look so delicate. Can you hear that sound? It almost sounds like the ewe is gagging or like that. That is what it sounds like. That's what the type of call she uses to communicate with her calves and call them. Have you heard that? There was an alarm call, but there's a lot of excitement going on. There's a little one here that's just jumping about, just jumped on the spot, like up and down on the spot. Very cute. Everyone's having a really fantastic... Ooh, and the thunder's coming again. Well, I want to pop into the den before we may have to call it again. So I'm going to head off there. Sorry, guys. Still with me. But it's a beautiful scene, so I'm quite happy to stick around here a little longer. Impalas make really interesting sounds. Oh, thank you. Look at them having fun. So much energy. It must feel so wonderful and safe to be in the company of so many other herd members, plus these really big stripy black and white things, and then these really dark things that go no, no. Must feel so safe. So sweet. They're bolting. In all the excitement, there was one alarm call and everybody picked up their heads. But it's generally not very reliable. If there's a whole herd, then you'll expect to hear a whole lot of alarm calls. Ah, look at that! Very, very cute. Kelly, you'd like to know how long before the lambs eat grass on their own? They'll already start to be nibbling on grass, and they're a couple weeks old. Same thing, they need to start to acquire the gut bacteria from their parents and their surroundings. Look at them all hanging out together. Oh, are you buddies? Yes. So fun, look at that. Oh, that is too cute. Too cute. So it'll start eating a little bit. Wow. And then once they have acquired that gut bacteria completely, then they'll be able to feed exclusively on grass. Oh, this is so fun. Looks like a sub-adult trying to keep up with them. You can't keep up, they're too fast. just by playing like this, they are learning how to avoid predators. Key survival tactic. They're learning it just by playing. Oh, it kind of makes me a little bit nervous when they run so far away. It's just like they just bound away. Gaino, you'd like to know if baby impalas are aware of danger. Instinctually, they will be aware of danger, but they'll be aware more, so they wouldn't be able to identify what type of danger, like, oh, this is a leopard or a lion or whatever. But being in a herd, they're able to recognize changes in behavior and sounds that are associated with those changes. So when they hear alarm calls, they too will become alarmed. But they may not actually be able to recognize what is the dangerous animal if it saw it in front of its face. But because of the herd's response, they're able to learn these things. So over time, they will learn it. In fact, within a few weeks, they'll learn it. But if it's very young, it will only instinctually know from what it recognizes in the herd. A very young impala tucked away in the grass comes across a leopard. All it knows at that point is, I need to be tucked away. Anything that comes along, except for mum, I'm not untucking myself. But if it had to open its eyes and see a leopard, it would not recognize that it may eat it. It doesn't even know that. It doesn't have context for that. So the first few weeks of life are so important. First few weeks of life with the herd especially is so important. They learn so much from the herd, from each other. It almost looks like these sub-adults are playing with them almost in a training them kind of way. Get used to this movement. You use this movement often. It feels like Theo is shooting a sporting event. They're all over the place. Here it comes. So cool. I'm so glad to have spent this time with you. But now I am going to head off to the den.
Well, what do you see? Yes, that's what it is, a serval cat. And these are 3 kitties. They look like kittens. There are 3 of them. I spooked them because I didn't know they were there. I was just driving and then all of a sudden they jumped out. They're spread out within that area, but I just see one, a serval cat. It's one of our small rare cats, very spotty like a cheetah. And it's an expert in killing small birds, insects, and also it does eat eggs. Yeah, they disappear very quickly like that, but it's walking. I don't know if it's going towards the other one. They're spread out within that area. This is how quickly they can disappear. There it is. Those ears are listening to its brother or sister, and I think it's trying to locate it. They can be very playful when they're young, and they have very big territories. I think I have seen these 3 before, and they've wandered quite a long way. They do scent mark, just like other cats. Look at it. Is it gonna come this way? Yeah, there we go. Wow. Yeah, this is one cat that we are seeing more and more of them, which is just amazing. Hard to believe that, we can see more and more of them. I don't know if the other one is right there. It could be. They're still, I think, young to hunt, but they are learning the skills. But I think they are following their mother towards hunting spots. It's coming towards us. How amazing is that? it's nice that they're actually not that shy. Those hind legs, see how muscular and thick they are, adapted for leaping. They can leap up to 5 feet in length, or even 6 in search of birds and little creepy crawlies. They normally pounce on them and then bite to kill. We see more and more of them nowadays, which is quite good, but they used to be very, very rare because they're very, very shy. They see you, they lie down, and you never see them. And if they're close to the road, they run away off the road, and you don't see them anymore. You cannot believe that we have 3 around here, but they're well hidden. That's the only one that has been active amongst the 3. I don't know if it's going to come out again. Remember, we are live. We're coming from the Masai Mara. There it is again. Look at that. Yeah, definitely. It's trying to locate the others. I'm going to try and move forward. Let's see if you can see it. Don't know if it will come out. They can disappear if they don't want to be seen. Looks like it's gone into this thicket here, and that, I think, is the end of us to see it. The good thing is it's not very shy, so I think it's going to give us more time next time. Apart from that beautiful cat, we have the greyback shrike over there. Dr. Rocky Balboa, can they see well at night? Very much like other cats. They have very good eyesight, and so they can see very well. And they're actually much more successful early in the morning and late evening. They're crepuscular, active at dusk and dawn. Here I have a greyback shrike. And also to the left is the interesting and the always most active, pintail wider. That is a male in its full breeding plumage. Very aggressive, always chasing other birds away and always flapping like that to excite the female. He might have 1 or 2 females there. You saw the female, and it's always chasing them. It never stays in one spot for very long. Apart from it, we have the greyback shrike, and then to the left of the greyback shrike, after you're done with that, we have the mouse bird. Do you see it? It's over there. Yeah, speckled mouse bird. It's got a funny way of clinging onto trees. Bye-bye. And yeah, let's go back to the one that's willing to stay. Yeah, the shrike is in the shrike family, and they actually go in big flocks. I see the only one here. I think he's misplaced himself. Quite a good number of them we do see here. They feed on insects, and their cousins are going to be arriving soon that live in Europe. We have the redback shrike that I expect to start seeing, maybe end of this month, early next month, because it's getting to winter in Europe. So they're going to be coming. These guys can be very vocal and very much like the shrikes that they're called the butcher birds. The butcher birds usually have a way of, feeding where they kill and then find a thorny bush like that one where they'll hook their meal. And so when they're ready, they can always pick it to eat it, hence their name, butcher birds. I don't know if you have that kind of butcher where you live, but here Our butcher usually hangs the meat out in the open, maybe or behind glass, with very, very scary hooks and strong, the ones you see in horror movies, like those ones. And when you want a piece of meat, you say a kilo, and he just cuts through with a big machete. Quite scary if you're not used. And then, he wraps it with something for you to take away. So these guys have got the same. They hook the meat on the thorns. And there's a one little interesting plant to the right that looks very prickly and very straight and pointy. That is Achiranthus, and we call it the devil's whip. We do play with it. If you don't like your friend, you just find it and then whip him with it. When we were young and we didn't have anything to do out there. Yeah, since that, my Tswalu have decided okay, I'm going to continue on since my Tswalu have hidden. Let's take you to another live location.
Welcome back to the Mara River, where our lone giraffe is still patrolling the river. I think he's looking for a favorable spot where he can come and drink. On our side of the river, there's another big bull giraffe. They're actually staring at each other. So giraffes can communicate in a very low frequency sound. I'm not sure what kind of information has just gone through or what is running through his mind, because you can tell he's also a big bull, and those other two that were on the other side, looks like they were a bit of sparring, so it was friendly. Maybe he might decide to get to the other side. I've seen when they cross this river and they use a spot where it at least is a little bit rocky, even where he can walk across. They also avoid the deep waters, so I'm not sure if he's deciding to get across or not. but not quite sure if you want to try crossing a crocodile-infested water like this, especially at the time when there's little food for these crocodiles, so they'll always gang up at anything that gets to the water. Sometimes these dominant bulls, what happens, they will do whatever they can to get across if there are females on this other side, because I can see in the tree line from where we are, there's some giraffes, and I think those might be females. So he looks like a little bit keen to get across. From that particular spot, going a round trip to across the bridge to where we are, it takes about 2.5 hours. I'm sure they're not that smart to go and use the bridge, so they'll definitely have to cross. The other giraffe on our side is slowly walking towards us, watching the zebras, because the zebras have decided to actually come back to investigate if the crocodiles are gone away or not. So this is a game that they always play whenever they see crocodiles. So I think that the zebras have gone and come back in big number. You can see that giraffe staring, and the zebras are slowly approaching them. Initially there were 6, and now I think they've more than, look like it's about 8. So let's see what they will do. Oh, that's a big kick. Are giraffes responsible for the shape of trees? Yes, the giraffes are responsible. So if you look at almost every bush that we come across, they have a certain shape, they have a certain formation, and that is the browsing line from the giraffes. We call them the landscapers of this terrain. So we have some good news. There's more zebras approaching from my left, and seems like it's going to be a big gathering. So let's wait and see what will happen. How tall can a giraffe get? I would say probably about 5.6 meters. 5.6 meters and sometimes 5.8 meters for a fully grown giraffe bull. So more zebras have arrived, and so it's going to be a game of patience, because sometimes you think that they're going to cross. Sometimes they just get to the river and then back. The stallions have always been the lead. They are the ones who come and check the waters. But this time round, it looks like everyone wants to come across. That's the lead stallion. You can hear him calling. And there's always communication whenever they come across two herds or two zeals. So each stallion from each member will always be announcing their presence, calling. So I'm going to hang around here watching these beautiful zebras approaching the river. So it seems like it's going to be a crossing, but how long it will take for them to get across is the question I'm asking myself. So linking you over to another live location.
We drove all the way to the eastern side of Phinda to a big open floodplain, and we actually found a female cheetah and her two sub-adult cubs just having a nice snooze. She's sitting upright a little bit now, just the last couple of minutes, because there's some waterbuck that's moving behind us. But I think Kim had her and her cubs yesterday morning on an Inyala carcass, so I think maybe their belly's on us and full, but she is showing a little bit of interest. It'll be interesting to see if she wants to try something, but I think a fully grown waterbuck female, a cow, will be a little bit difficult for her to take down. Maybe a youngster, so she'll be a little bit more interested. Yeah, on this floodplain and being so close to Lake St. Lucia, we have quite a few blue-cheeked bee-eaters that were flying over earlier as well. Might hear them call every now and then. Look how she's actually falling asleep a bit, like sitting upright like that. Just opening her eyes, having a look at those waterbucks in the back there. The two youngsters are settled down quite a bit, and I think they were spending the whole evening here on this open floodplain. You can see around them during the dark. Keep an eye out for any other predators. She's really dozing off there, eyes closing. It's actually cooled down quite a bit. It's gotten cold all of a sudden with the southerly wind blowing, and I think that's why they are falling asleep like this. Trying to huddle up to mom there, the one youngster, and then the other one's just spread out there on the left hand side. She's just listening around. Quite interesting that she's sitting upright and falling asleep like that. But this female, she needs to be very aware what's going on around her. So, see, she just opens her eyes every now and then, and with this wind blowing, it might be taking away from her sense of smell and hearing. She can only smell and hear what the wind is bringing to her, so she might have to rely on her eyesight every now and then to keep an eye on what's going on around her. But luckily it's nice and open. You can see that open grassland there behind them, so they should be able to see anything approaching way before it gets too close to them. You're just talking about how old these youngsters are. They're around about a year old now. So within the next 6 months or so, this young male and female will start to become a little bit more independent from their mother, probably stick with each other for a couple of months and then leave each other as well. Just looking at the one that's sitting next to its mother there, I think if we look at the size of its head, it looks like it's already getting to the same size or a little bit bigger than its mother's head. So maybe that's the young male there, and it might be the young female that's lying off to the side there. Mum is just keeping an eye out on any movement and those waterbuck that's there on the side. Some water in the back. I think she probably took her youngsters for a drink after feeding on that nyala yesterday morning. Really looking at the movement quite a bit, and their eyes are just closing. I think if the youngsters maybe saw those waterbuck, they would have been a little bit more interested and maybe tried to stalk and make a game out of it. But I think the female, obviously having a lot of experience, knows that the waterbuck is maybe a little bit too big for her to hunt. I don't know if she just fell asleep there and her head almost fell down and then she had a fright and woke up. So these two youngsters are still very inexperienced, just sleeping. You can see the one sleeping flat on the left hand side there, and the other one hasn't really moved at all, so mom needs to still keep an eye out around them until they've learned to be aware like she is. So it might be nice and cool for them, might even be a little bit cold, but she would prefer staying in these open clearings rather than moving into dense areas. So her head's going down a bit, eyes closing. I think after having a good meal yesterday morning, they are quite happy to just settle down and relax in this open clearing here. This floodplain has been an open grassland, has been quite productive with a lot of wildebeest and zebras around, and the wildebeests are going to be dropping their calves in the next month or so. And there's even a few warthogs that's close by, and with those wildebeest dropping their youngsters, it might be the ideal place for her to be this time of the year. We haven't seen wildebeest calves just yet, but as soon as they do start giving birth, then it's a good time for these youngsters to even learn a little bit about stalking and hunting. She would prefer not going for adult wildebeest just yet, but I think once the youngsters are born, she'll definitely be interested in them. Especially with all, you can see the luma green grass in the back there, a lot of moisture and stuff around here. She's really falling asleep. See how she's slowly almost falling over to the other side there. But for now, I think we are gonna stick around here for a little bit longer, just see what these cheetahs get up to, but I think they are settling down for the rest of the day.
We've been driving about. Unfortunately, the den is inactive, but the trees are looking beautiful, and if you can hear, it's starting to rain again, so we're going to slowly make our way in the direction of camp. It's not too bad just yet. Here we're looking at I say one of my favorites, but you know me and favorites. You know how I like to see species interacting, different species, animal species? I like when different trees grow within each other or close to each other and kind of intertwine. I think it's very pretty. And it almost feels like they've got a relationship going. So here we have a silver cluster leaf. You can see the silvery leaves. That silver sheen is created by tiny little hairs that reflect light scattered in all kinds of directions, in a similar way as iridescence works, or Tyndall scattering, but not quite. It's very much more simple. That's how we get that nice silvery color. And it's embedded, well, not embedded, it's just really growing next to a red bush willow that's fallen over. But they both seem to have decided that the space is big enough for the two of them. But eventually one will dominate the other. And on this other side, we actually have three different trees that are all happily leaning against each other. There we go. Here we have a variable bush willow. You can see those really large leaves. Easiest way to tell it's a variable bush willow when it's young like this is that the leaves are very variable sizes. Well, that's how I usually remember it. And then the smaller leaves that we see, plant with the really tiny leaves. That's a black monkey thorn. A bit nasty. Don't want to get caught in that. Is it a black monkey thorn? Let me pull out my binos for a second. Yep. And then on the right, on the left of the tree, again, that's a red bush willow with a very average sized leaves. You can just see it. That's quite cool. So there you've got the black monkey thorn, the variable bush willow, and the red bush willow's leaves all together. Very nice. I quite enjoy trees. I think they're such silent observers, watching everything that's going on, but then actually fiercely competing beneath the ground for so many things. Space, nutrients, sunlight, relationships with mycorrhiza, other fungi. So much going on, except they just look like silent, wise beings, at least in my head. Anyway, guys, remember that app? You can go onto our website, wildearth.tv/explorers. Have a look at our Wild Earth Explorers app. See what fun you can have with it and how you can engage with us even more. I hope you heard that thunder. Ooh. And the rain. Oh, it's coming down heavier. That's our cue to move it along in camp direction. If you're hearing shuffling, it's me just trying to cover up radios and stuff. Before anything gets permanently wet. Okay. Alright. Off we go. Things are at least a little bit drier, or at least covered up. We got to see 5 trees in one. Oh no, 4. One is a double. So I think that's pretty cool. Clouds are rolling in, and we're going to roll out back towards camp.
these cheetahs have now completely lied down. The youngsters were just sitting up and looking at some warthogs, and all of us on the vehicle were wondering if they were going to go and stalk those warthogs and chase them around. But I think they did that a while ago, and maybe they learned their lesson. But now you can see even the mum's down completely, just enjoying this cool weather, being able to lie out in the open. And when they were sitting upright, we could see that the one next to mum was a little bit bigger than the other youngster. So definitely the young male, and he's really keeping mum warm there. I can imagine it's nice for them to lie up against each other like that. Just picking her head up briefly there. Look at that. Such a beautiful cheetah. Almost no scars on her face at all. Can't see any blemishes on her nose or anything like that. There, her eyes just closing again. So now she's got that lying flat but still got the head up pose that cheetahs always do. Easy for her to just open her eyes and being able to look around her.
Welcome back to the Mara River, where I think the zebras are getting too close to the riverbank, and I think they're all staring, waiting for who will lead them into these treacherous waters. Everyone is eager, everyone is watching just for the leader just to get into the water, and then they follow. So as soon as one makes a step or walks closer to the river, others keep on following, and you can see they're all eagerly waiting with their tails wagging, their switching off flies. It's a big number, so at least they can all push each other to cross, and then there's also courage with the big number that there is here. Like I always say, it's a game of patience, waiting for this to cross, because they also have to worry for crocodiles, even though they're brave. I've seen them crossing the river with wildebeest, and these zebras are very, very intelligent and do it in a very unique way, such that sometimes when the crocodiles just swim towards them, they jump over the crocs. It would be nice if you can be able to see that, although we have about 12 crocodiles waiting. So each and everyone is eager. So the zebras are eager to cross, and the crocodiles are eager to have a meal. So just waiting to see who will win. looks as if that giraffe wants to come for a drink. And you can see just behind that big rock in front of the giraffe, there's a crocodile just swimming closer. He's getting closer and closer. I think the zebras are warning him, hey, watch out, there's crocs there. Is he going for a drink? When do giraffes live with solitary animals? So giraffes sometimes live in groups of young females, young males, and older females. Then the bulls from the age of about 7, 8 will be independent. And sometimes older giraffe, like one we saw just walking close to the river, will be independent and always walking by themselves. So they're always independent, but once in a while they'll mix with the big groups of giraffes with younger calves and older calves. Looks like he wants to drink, but he can see that crocodile. Maybe it's not too safe for him there, so he decided to walk around. The zebra is still waiting patiently. I can hear the rufous-nipped lark calling, singing a very nice melodious song. And the river flowing, it's very, very nice. You can see more zebras coming in. So this is going to be one big crossing of zebra crossing. So just going to cross fingers before the end of the show, if they can decide to cross. So taking you over to another live location.
Oh, very, very exciting. Here we're back up on quarantine. At least the rain has subsided just a little bit, so I thought let's have a look at these guys again. It was such a lovely big herd of impala with so many little lambs. So if the rain comes, I can escape quickly. Things are much more settled now. There's so much excitement going on before. There's a female in the distance that's still jumping about just a little bit. Maybe she's trying to get the lambs to play with her. They're looking off towards our camp, but there's only a few that are actually paying attention. The others are fairly relaxed. When there's a big threat, or quite an immediate threat, you'll find that they'll all be very, very alert. But I guess given the weather, they're a little bit jumpy. still chewing though. That's always a good sign. If they're still chewing impala is a happy impala. Red bulldog speaker there. Also having some fun. Or are we going to watch her swallow and then regurgitate? Will we be lucky? Ah, they came. Oh, I love it when that happens. Always amuses me. Very nice. It's nice to spend some time with impalas, especially since they get overlooked so often. But today they're especially gorgeous in quarantine, especially with all those lambs jumping about. Well, I'm going to escape from the rain that is continuing to fall. I hope that you all enjoyed our impalas.
Talking about oxpecker, we have oxpeckers on the giraffe. So grooming his back. Well, then this giraffe is undecided. It looks like he wants to cross, looks like he wants to drink. Then the croc is just waiting patiently. Okay, he's just stepped into the water. Very nice. And there's a crocodile that just went in. Viewers, we're just watching a giraffe crossing. This is super cool. It's called the unexpected. We're all waiting to see the zebras crossing, but look at what's happening here. A giraffe crossing. He is walking patiently because there are slippery rocks. Remember, there are 12 crocodiles in this water. So will he make it across? Look at how deep he's gone into. The water level getting into his knees. Look at all those crocodiles there. They're just waiting patiently. He is one very brave giraffe. To actually walk across such kind of water with 12 crocodiles waiting, you have to be super brave. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for your questions and comments. We've come to that time of this sunrise safari where we're closing, and we're closing with a very, very beautiful sighting. We're closing with a giraffe crossing the water. So you will join us again later. And also, this is interesting because we have zebra that is just gone into the water. Look at that, fellow viewers. We have two crossing. We have zebra and giraffe. How magical is this?